What's up everyone, welcome back to a brand new video. Last time, we saw the arrival of the Saiyans on Earth and a very different Saiyan saga. It was a hard fought battle, especially with BROLY on the Saiyan side. However, our heroes were able to pull ahead, sealing both BROLY and Vegeta away. But what happens now? Well, things aren't really going to go according to plan in this part. For this video, let's set a like goal of 3,500 likes. Once we hit that, I'll continue with another part to the series. Anyways, let's pick it from here. So now the group basically has two deadly weapons with them. These two containers with BROLY and Vegeta in them. If something happens, it could cause a lot of issues. They need to figure out the best way to dispose of them. So they just take them up to Kami because they have no real better idea for this. It didn't even work with King Piccolo because he was eventually found too. So they need to get this thing really far away from here. Maybe like throw it into space or something. While they're on the lookout, Kami notices something strange. One of the containers seems to be shaking. That definitely doesn't seem normal. More of a reason to get rid of these as soon as they can. As they're discussing what to do with these containers, the worst case scenario happens. The one that was shaking before starts to shake again, and a crack appears in it. The seal from up top. It actually falls off too. Everyone rushes to try to put it back on, but it's already too late. The container starts shaking even more, and then violently explodes. There's a brilliant flash of green light, and standing there they see BROLY once again, although considerably weaker than before. Getting sealed away took a lot out of him, and he's breathing heavily, also partially enraged. They really have no idea of what to do right now, so Goku, well, he just does what comes to mind first. He uses the Thunder Shock surprise, electrocuting BROLY kind of like Roshi used to do to him. Okay, that's not really great wording, that makes it sound like Roshi would do that all the time, but you know what I mean. This actually does kind of paralyze BROLY for a bit, especially with how weakened he is right now. But BROLY is barely able to lift a hand up, launching a blast at the other container, freeing Vegeta from his seal too. BROLY collapses onto the lookout, with Vegeta doing the same, even though he's been freed from the container. They curse the Earthlings. What was that magic trick? How pathetic. They couldn't even beat the Saiyans with their own real strength. They had to resort to these tactics. They're clearly too weakened to fight right now, and even if they could, it seems the group has this under control. Maybe they should just kill the Saiyans right now. It's a good opportunity for it. They're clearly not going to be able to fight back here. But Goku says that wouldn't really make it right. It seems wrong to kill them in this moment of weakness. And he actually kind of wants to hear them out. It seems like BROLY has something to say. Vegeta's even surprised too. BROLY's usually pretty soft-spoken, but now he's trying to tell the group something. He tells them to wait a minute. And he begins explaining. He just wants to kill Frieza. He doesn't want to risk his life here on Earth, and he'd rather put his pride aside and actually team up with everyone. Well, he's not even really that prideful. That's more so Vegeta and the rest of the group, even though the other two died, but that's besides the point. That can be water under the bridge. Sure, he is angered by Raditz and Nappa's death, more so Nappa. But he also acknowledges that it is kind of their fault. They went in knowing that they could possibly die here, even though they didn't really expect it. It wasn't like they were killed senselessly. And that's why he's trying to speak to the group here. They're not dealing with their average opponents. These people are actually good, these Earthlings. Same for Kakarot too, he's a rare exception for Saiyans it seems. As far as BROLY could tell at least. He doesn't want to risk dying here. He'd rather team up and fight Frieza with them. Goku turns to Kami, unsure of what to think of this. And Kami's judging at the same time too, looking into BROLY's mind. He could sense that he seems to be telling the truth actually. But who is this Frieza guy and why should they care? Goku says yeah, he has no reason to kill them here, but he also has no reason to fight Frieza. He doesn't know who that is or why they want to go along with it. It's not really their concern and they shouldn't really be putting themselves in harm's way. Of course, Goku thinks it might be interesting to fight this guy. Apparently he's pretty strong. But with the rest of his friends there, they're advising against it. So Goku does kind of want to fight Frieza due to how strong he seems, but at the same time he doesn't even really know how strong Frieza is. He's just hearing the Saiyans say that he's strong. And on top of that, why would he team up with the Saiyans after they just tried to kill him? And Raditz tried too beforehand. And besides the fact that they're not even really trusting of the Saiyans, they're kind of concerned about BROLY's power. He seems unhinged. Even in the hypothetical scenario where they did team up, BROLY would be more of a liability than anything. Vegeta weakly chuckles, butting into the conversation. He says they've noticed the same thing he did. They were never able to get BROLY's anger under control, no matter how much they tried. And Goku's actually kind of interested in this. He's noticed something similar with Gohan, and he wonders if the two issues are similar anyhow. He's not sure, but it doesn't really matter. Getting BROLY's anger under control isn't his issue, but Vegeta responds once again, making a much more interesting statement. He tells them they don't really have a choice. If the Saiyans die here, Frieza is bound to check out Earth since it might be a threat, And even though they don't plan on killing the Saiyans, well, the Saiyans could just stay here. Their lives are bargaining chips. Of course, the Saiyans could go back out in space, but they're not willingly going to do that. It would make their endeavor here useless, so they're just going to stay on Earth for the time being, whether or not the Earthlings like it. Either way, it's going to draw Frieza to this planet, whether the Saiyans die or live. They're going to have to help fight regardless, and actually that makes it worse for the Earthlings. If they kill the Saiyans, they're going to have 2 less people to fight Frieza. Frieza will still come here regardless. Angered, Piccolo steps in. He tells the 2 Saiyans he could just seal them away again. It worked before, and it'll work again. And he's vague about it, making sure not to mention the Dragon Balls, but he says there are ways to make sure that Frieza won't come to this planet. But Goku steps in too, taking hold of the conversation once again, saying that maybe they should hear Vegeta out. It seems they're already screwed regardless. Even though they might not know it yet, they could be on Frieza's radar. Hell, maybe nothing will happen. But there is the risk that something could happen. And Goku says something weird. He makes a compromise with them. He will help them fight Frieza, but under a few conditions. For one, he wants these 2 to be on their best behavior. Something that they can't promise, but yeah, sure. But Goku also asks for their expertise. They're Saiyans just like him, and Goku knows very little about himself being a Saiyan. So he wants them to bestow upon him any sort of knowledge they have that could help him get stronger. Any sort of tips or whatever they have. And that applies to the rest of the group too. If the Saiyans know any way to help them grow, Goku wants them to tell them. And Krillin asks Goku if he really can trust the Saiyans here, and Goku says no, he doesn't. But the Saiyans kinda have to be on their best behavior. They're not gonna go around killing people at random, because the 2 of them do know they can be sealed away again. And if the Saiyans do betray all the fighters here, well, that's less people to help fight Frieza, which is exactly what they wanted. So even though the Saiyans are using their lives as bargaining chips, Goku's also bargaining himself. He knows that the Saiyans are in a tough spot right now, and the 2 of them are basically forced to act by Goku's rules. Reluctantly, this weird alliance is made. The Earthlings don't really want to work too much with the Saiyans, which is understandable. Piccolo says he's going to go off on his own, training with the Earthlings. He does actually want to train with Goku, but Goku thinks it might be a better idea to train with Broly, Vegeta, and Gohan. Well, Vegeta's not training with them. Instead, he goes off on his own. One of the tips he suggested is that they should get some sort of gravity training. He doesn't know why, but Earth's gravity is so weak. Luckily, Bulma was able to build a machine, and Vegeta spends most of his time training alone in there, meaning he also meets Bulma on top of that. But as for Broly, he actually does stick with Goku because Goku mentions he thinks he might be able to get Broly's anger under control, and at the same time, he'll be training Gohan too. Granted, it hasn't been too much of a problem with Gohan, although there have been moments of rage where he's outbursted and he's had a lot of power explode out of him. So he knows it could be an issue, but more so, he needs to get Gohan more used to fighting. And this could be perfect. He can kill 2 birds with 1 stone, train both Broly and Gohan at the same time. Plus, with Broly there, he is pretty strong, so if Goku spars with Broly a bit, it will help him in the process. Something is strange about Broly. He seems a lot different from Vegeta and the other Saiyans. He's not good, he just doesn't seem fully bad. Like, his intentions seem fine, and when he's not fighting, he's actually surprisingly passive. He's really driven by that one goal to defeat Frieza, which explains why he was the one to speak up and actually try to team up with the group. In a much more pragmatic way, at least. He could actually take Broly into the Room of Spirit in time, but that could be too dangerous at the moment, because first of all, what if Broly's anger explodes and then they're trapped in there and Goku just dies? But also, Goku does want to save more of his time because he has to be conscious of how much he's spent in there. It might not be worthwhile to go in just yet, so instead they spend all their time out here. Also occasionally going to the gravity room, which they'll see Vegeta in. And Broly is a bit confused as to why he's training with the child, but as the training goes on, he sees more and more what Goku means. He and Gohan are surprisingly similar, which is so weird because, first of all, Gohan's a hybrid Saiyan, he's not even a full Saiyan, and he's someone that was born here, raised here fully. And even with how good-hearted he is, he has this other side to him. Broly's had a much different backstory, but the 2 are still similar in some ways. And Goku can immediately tell. After these few months of training, he's definitely made progress. He's grown stronger on his own too. And Broly and Gohan have grown stronger. But more so, their mindsets have grown. Broly seems to be more confident as a fighter, not worried about his anger. Plus, he has a better control over his power in general. And the same goes for Gohan. He's way more confident, way more willing to fight actually, recognizing his own latent potential too. And Goku's amazed at how rapid of a pace Broly's growing, but Gohan too. It's so strange. What's causing this? Broly's just a normal Saiyan supposedly. And Broly is just as confused. He always knew he had this within him, but he never really knew why. Vegeta and the group theorized that he might be a mutant or something. Hence why he was sent away from planet Vegeta, a story that Goku actually hears about from Broly. learning how he actually made contact with the other Saiyans. So, what's the group supposed to do now? Months have been spent training and everyone is growing stronger. Plus, Broly and Gohan are growing better as fighters in general. But no one really has an obligation to go out and fight Frieza. Maybe they should just wait for him to come here. If anything, that gives them more time to train. And for all they know, Earth might not even be on Frieza's radar. Vegeta's actually pretty surprised. He hasn't shown up yet. Maybe he doesn't care that the Saiyans died here, supposedly. But Frieza definitely has taken notice, and he definitely does care. But he doesn't really care too much. He's not going to personally show up. He has more important matters to tend to in space. Although, this does seem interesting. And maybe they could check out that portion of the galaxy. But he's going to send some other troops out there. So, certain portions of the Frieza Force are sent out to that solar system. And they find that none of these planets have anything on it, except for one. It's a planet called Earth, and this is the one that Vegeta and Nappa went to, as well as Raditz. It doesn't really seem strong from the outside, but Vegeta and Nappa went here and never returned. And that's what confuses them. It could potentially be dangerous. So first, they're going to take a few strong soldiers and send them out there. And Frieza has the perfect group for that. King Cole decides that he's going to head there to oversee the whole operation. Honestly, he thinks it's kind of overkill, but whatever, it's Frieza's orders. He decides to send out the Ginyu Force. King Cole takes one of his own ships there, while the Ginyu Force also starts heading towards Earth. As the group continues their training, one day, Vegeta notices some powers heading towards the planet. And Broly knows too. Is that 6 different powers? That's what concerns them, the number specifically. Vegeta can immediately tell what it is. That has to be the Ginyu Force. But why them? And that other power that they could sense. Of course, they don't know how to recognize the key signatures yet because they only just learned how to sense ki. And it's definitely a strong power, but not as strong as they'd expect Frieza to be. It's stronger than the Ginyu Force, but not by a significant amount. And Broly has one idea who it might be. It could be King Cold. King Cold? Why him? Vegeta and Broly aren't too sure why, but whatever. This is good. This means that they are on Frieza's map. And even if Frieza himself isn't heading here right now, this is a good start. The 5 ships land in the middle of nowhere, with the Ginyu Force stepping out, striking a pose, and not far behind them is King Cold. He asks them to please make this quick. He honestly thinks this is a waste of time, which is why he's here and not Frieza. And the 6 of them are all distracted, with their scouters going off. King Cold checks his, and sees a couple of powers approaching. They seem stronger than the average Earthling, but not too strong. Of course, they don't know that these people are suppressing their powers. And this strange team of fighters shows up. King Cold immediately recognizes Vegeta and Broly. But there's also another Saiyan there, plus a Namekian and then a couple of Earthlings, as well as a child for some reason. Is this what they're gonna fight? He's not really too concerned. More so, he's interested to see Vegeta here. And he sees what Vegeta's been trying to do. So he and Broly must have come here to team up with the Earthlings, trying to start a coup against Frieza, but he says that's not gonna work. And Vegeta taunts King Cold, saying not to get too cocky. He's been doing intense training. And with this group, they will defeat Frieza's army. The Ginyu Force laughs in unison, and says they agree with King Cold. This was a waste of time coming here. Really, they could have just sent 2 of their soldiers. So you know what? They're gonna do exactly that. They send Jason Birder in to fight first. And Vegeta smiles. He'll face them alone. Well, if he wants to be cocky about it, that's his choice. Jason Birder fight Vegeta. And immediately they're surprised to see that Vegeta's strength is actually somehow on par with them. Wait, no, it's greater than their collective power. Even with their combo attacks, Vegeta's able to defend against them. And the rest of the Ginyu Force watches on too, confused. Same for King Cold. What the hell? They knew Vegeta was powerful, but not like this. And much to their surprise, he's able to eliminate Jason Birder with not too much effort. He lands back on the ground, catching his breath, but seemingly he's okay. He didn't have to exert too much of his power. This might be bad, but Ginyu sees an opportunity. Just as Vegeta lands on the ground, he uses his body change technique. Vegeta's powerful, and he wants that power for himself. He swaps bodies with Vegeta, now growing stronger thanks to having control of this body. But he was too hasty about it. He didn't injure his own body before he did the swap. So Vegeta's actually still moving, although very annoyed that he's now stuck in this body. But he does comment on something too. He says Ginyu was a little bit too hasty with his technique because, well, if he waited, he would have seen that Vegeta's not actually the strongest here. They'll be sure to defeat Ginyu, and Vegeta will get his body back at any cost. Ginyu looks around at the rest of the group. This will definitely be fun, and this is where we'll leave off for now. So, what'd you guys think about this part? What do you think's gonna happen next time? Leave your thoughts in the comments below, and I'll be sure to check them out and see what you guys think. As always, if you liked the video, be sure to drop a like. Let's try to hit that like goal from the beginning of the video so we can get another part of the series. If you haven't already, be sure to subscribe. as well as hitting that bell icon so you're notified about any future uploads on my channel, including more parts of the series or other videos like it. Anyways, thank you all for watching, and I'll see you all in my next video.